Hi, I'm Lukas, and I have 0 qualifications. Welcome to our cooking show. Welcome back. Now, veteran viewers will probably be aware that we are masters of the fine art of accidentally insulting large quantities of people by ruining dishes they love. Yeah, excluding all the shenanigans he's been up to, we've upset, well, the entirety of France, everyone in Iberia, everyone who likes snacks, everyone who likes starters, everyone who likes main courses, and everyone who likes desserts. And today will be no difference, because in this episode, we'll be upsetting the French! Again! Now, in order to make baguettes, you will need ingredients. And here is ingredients, right here. Wow, you really nailed that delivery, didn't you? Really? Sure, yeah, you did good, mate. Good job. Now, the first step is actually quite simple. It's going to be pretty reminiscent of 90% of all other dishes you might have cooked in the past. And it's, take a bowl, you put all the ingredients in the bowl, and then you mix it. Now, remember, it's very important to make sure you don't mix the salt and the yeast together like we just did, because the yeast is alive and the salt will kill the yeast. You murderer! So the next step is actually quite straightforward and self-explanatory, let's be honest. It's, well, you probably guessed it, we're going to mix all the ingredients together. But there is a twist, because we're going to have to add water, a little bit of water every now and then, until the dough becomes, well, how you'd imagine dough should look like. Now, in order to do that, I'm going to need a whisk. Could you pass me the whisk? Yeah, sure, here it is. Today's gonna be a long day. Yeah, I got this from a Christmas cracker, so the fact that this thing hasn't snapped is quite impressive to me. Alright, so I've checked the recipe, and it turns out you shouldn't be too worried if it takes a suspiciously small amount of time to turn the mixture into a dough. The recipe estimates about 5 minutes. I'd say give it a couple more minutes if you're, like me, using the whisk equivalent of a PLP 50. Speaking of which, where'd my whisk go? One moment. Yeah. There it is. There we go. See, that's the right level of consistency. Alright, so I'm taking over from here because this is where things are going to get a little bit messy. What we're going to do is we're going to take this out and then start kneading it, separating it into 2 baguettes and then moulding them into baguettes. And then we just start kneading. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to knead it until it gains a specific level of consistency. Now, if you're looking for a point of reference for that point of consistency, it's pretty straightforward. Open up any stock video or stock image website, search up bread dough, and the first thing that it'll give you is probably going to be a dough at this level of consistency. Golly, it's a good thing I decided to pick this specific camera angle to film the kneading of the bread, because the bread blends in perfectly with the table. We are just that good at filming. Hey, want to know a fun fact about bread? Go ahead. The French way to spell bread is exactly the same as the English way to spell pain. What's your point? I don't know. See, now we're getting somewhere. It doesn't look like it because half the baguette is still stuck to the table, but it's getting less stuck to the table, and that means that the dough is almost ready. I hope. Because I only have the studio for a couple more minutes. Right, so now that we've kind of got them bread shaped, oh my god, 90%. I think a solid 10% of the dough is still on my hands. I might not have needed it enough, but we don't have time. So now that it's like this, we can now, finally, wash our hands and check the next step, which is... Alright, we gotta get our hands dirty again because we've gotta move it into the tray. Good enough. I got a dash. Cheerio! What time is it? Too early for filming by my standards. Welcome back! So, I feel like we kind of rushed the ending last night, so let's add a bit of exposition here. What we've done is that we've left the dough inside the tray covered overnight so that the bread could expand, double in size, with a wet towel over it, because otherwise the dough will actually dry, and that is not quite what we want. Another thing I feel is important to add is, if you can't get the right consistency just by kneading the dough alone, it can be quite helpful to add a bit of flour every now and then, because that can really help it stop being so sticky, really. Alright, should we see it? Alright then, go ahead. And here we... So it might have gotten a little bit stuck to the towel we put it on. Alright, calm down. We can still salvage this. What's the next step? We need to start preheating the oven. Great, I can distract myself from this mess. See, this step is actually quite straightforward. What we're going to do is we're going to preheat the oven to about 220 degrees Celsius. And then we're going to pour some water into the bottom pan as shown here. Now what that's going to do is that's going to make it very steamy inside the oven. And therefore, it's going to really help us make the crust of the bread. But that does beg the question. If I put something else, like, say, apple juice or syrup in there, would that affect the taste of the crust? See, in this cooking show, we're not only cooking food, but we're also cooking food for thought. I should probably start cooking the food. Right, now what we've got to do is also pretty straightforward, actually. The recipe demands that we slash the bread 3 times, although I suspect this is pretty much only for ornamental purposes, so theoretically, you could slash it however you want. And to prove my point, I'm going to slash it in the shape of DNA. And there you have it, it's ready to go. I should probably bring the bread. Alright, it's ready. Now to put it in the oven. Why is the oven on fire? Don't worry about that, we're just contractually obliged to have one at this point. Fair enough. Is it good? Well, there you have it, folks. Baguettes, cooked despite our best efforts. And they're even edible. I'd call that a success. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you in the next one.